Man, Lomachenko's upset. That boy think he got set up. That boy think he got robbed. And he's pissed about it. And I'm gonna talk about it for a little bit. But I'm gonna do it this way though. I'm gonna say, all right, cool. Let's just I don't believe he got robbed, by the way. But let's just roll with it. Let's say he did get robbed. Let's say they did jip him. Let's say they did do him dirty. Right? Now, was he gonna win that fight? No. Did he win that fight? No. But even if he did win that fight, would he have got that fight? No. I don't believe. I think that the fix was in regardless, but he ended up winning. So then end up losing. Tio ended up winning the fight regardless anyway. But even if he didn't, they would have gave it to Tio. I think he's right about that. I think he's right. I don't think he won the fight, but if he had won it, I believe they would have gave it to Tio. I think he's 100% correct about that. But does he have the right to be upset about it, though? That to me is the question. Because you got to see how his whole career has gone, right? You got when he went ahead and he faced Gary Russell Jr., right? In the fight against Gary Russell Jr. He barely beats Gary Russell Jr. in that fight. There was a knockdown in that fight that wasn't called. They called that knockdown, they called it a slip. Even though it wasn't, even though it was a clear knockdown, they called it a slip. And because of them doing that, Gary Russell ended up losing the fight. They don't do that, that fight's a draw. That means they got to do the rematch. Never gave Gary Russell a rematch. Nothing. Even though it was, controversial basically. Barely won it. He took advantage of that, little thing that was worked out in his favor, right? When it came to Nicholas Walters. Nicholas Walters, the hottest thing out there. He's knocking out everybody. Knocks out Donaire. Everybody's hyped up when it comes to Nicholas Walters. He's doing high viewerships and everything. Same level as Lomachenko, actually even higher at that point. He was becoming a star. Comes up to fighting Lomachenko. They want to pay him substantially less money. He says, nah, I want to get paid right when it comes to this fight. I've earned it. So what do? They set him out for a whole year. Then they have him do like one little fight. Then they starve him for a whole other year after that. Then all of a sudden, okay, now you can fight Now you can fight Lomachenko. Now that you starved out, you haven't had a fight in a whole year, you got no money. Yeah, now, okay, and we're going to pay you less than what we're going to pay you before. Did him dirty. Worked out for Lomachenko, though. He didn't complain. He was smiling, cheesing about it. He got paid, got his victory, got his little unification. He was good. He was feeling good about himself. He didn't care about that. We all know about all the things that just happened when it comes to Top Rank in general. We saw when it came to, let's say, someone like a Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao versus Timothy Bradley. Manny Pacquiao's acting up a little bit too much. You know what I mean? Getting too big for his britches. Bob Arum does his thing and gets him that loss, that L. To put him back in his place. Then later on, sets him up again. He's about to leave. Only got a couple of fights left. Sets him up with Jeff Horn. Have him fight him Jeff Horn's backyard. Has everything set up where the rematch would have to be over there as well. Straight setup job. Belt gone. Has Manny Pacquiao lose again, but then Manny Pacquiao flips the scripts, and when it came to him fighting in Australia or whatever again, he said, F, no, I'm not doing that. Y'all can kiss my ass, keep that belt. I'm moving on. I'm going to move on and do my own thing. That's what he ended up doing. So you're with the organization where they have a history of doing this, even to their most prominent fighters, right? They have that history. They have a history of helping you out and putting you in the perfect situations and perfect positions. When you had to fight, when you should have been fighting Devin Haney for that WBC belt, how they just slid you in there against somebody else. even though you were a champion for another organization, they were able to get you in there and get you that WBC belt. And after you got that belt, they gave you that quote franchise belt, so you didn't have to fight that boy Devin anymore. Again, the organization doing grimy stuff, but it's for your benefit. And you're sitting there smiling, doing your do-do-do-do-do-do-do. You live Matrix, whatever thing they call it. I call it the jackrabbit. You're doing all that stuff because you're happy, because in the situations, it's working out for you. But when you're working out with grimy people like that, and you're working with people who have done things like that in the past, you have to understand that it can happen to you as well. You have to clearly understand that. So when they put you up to fight against this young kid, you should already know there was something was to go fishy about that. Because why would they be putting this young kid against you? You know, Top Rank does not put their young boys in for championship bouts unless they believe they're going to win those fights. And this is one of their prized pupils, their future. So why would they sacrifice their future like that for you? Especially when he's a kid that is getting really big, is going to have to jump up to 140 pounds anyway. You weren't thinking about that, though. And another thing, why didn't you have a rematch clause? Why didn't you protect yourself by having a rematch clause? Were you feeling yourself that much? You should have protected. Floyd Mayweather has a rematch clause in every single fight that he fights. And that's the greatest of all time. And used to consistently have rematch clauses. But you somehow felt that you didn't need no rematch clause. And you got 3 belts. They got their future fighting you. You didn't think anything was weird about that? So not only did you not pay attention to the history of Top Rank, not only did you yourself take it, benefit from all this griminess that happens, but you completely didn't see it when it was about to happen to you, and you didn't protect yourself. You didn't protect yourself. So if something like this happened, you can go right back in there and give yourself an opportunity to become victorious in the second fight. And especially if you, quote, were going in there injured, supposedly. Why wouldn't you have not had a rematch clause in there? I'd be like, I'm coming in there injured. We need that. I'm going to still fight, but we need that rematch clause in there, or I'm not fighting. And I'm going to wait till I get healthy and we can fight later. There's things that you could have done to protect yourself, and you chose not to. So due to the fact that you chose not to protect yourself, due to the fact that you benefited yourself from the things that you're complaining about, no one can feel sorry for you. You got to take your licks and just keep it moving. Whether it be you still fighting at 135 and trying to get your belt back, you have an option. You can also always go to Devin and go fight Devin for his WBC belt. Become a manager. I'm sure that because you're still the franchise champion. So if you decided you want to go fight for that belt, he has no choice but to fight you. So you can fight for a belt next. Because that's the other thing. People have this assumption that just Teofimo is a franchise champion now. No. Lomachenko's still a franchise champion too. So he can go ahead and he can fight Devin Haney if he wants to. That's an option for him. Devin Haney would have no choice but to let him fight because he would have, because he'd be the mandatory. He'd be mandated to. Or become this kid's mandatory and fight him again. But this bickering, crying, and complaining, no one should be trying to hear it. Because if what you're saying did happen, it's just the way Top Rank works. And you've been cool with it your whole career. So you got to be cool with it now. But like, subscribe, share. I'm out.